Okay, Tyrel Ventura is our guest here. And I just got to say something about Jesse Ventura before we go to Tyrel. Jesse is a real guy. I mean, he is just a real guy from hardworking, blue-collar, roots with his, dad, a World War II hero. And I know Jesse Ventura now for 8 years. I know him pretty well, and he's the real deal. I disagree with some of his politics vehemently. But the fact that he is real, the fact that he's not corrupt, and the fact that the system always says he isn't real or he's corrupt with no evidence is what makes me mad. Because let me tell you something. I've got a lot of problems. I'm not perfect. The system always tries to say I'm not real or I'm a fake or that I'm betraying someone because they're doing that to you. And they don't want you to know there's real people in this world. And that said, Tyrel Ventura, who's made a bunch of different films, TV shows in his own right, run camera on the last 2 episodes, done research. He's now one of the hosts and reporters on 3rd season of Conspiracy Theory. And he joins us. And I was just thinking during the break about your dad. I didn't intend to get you on and then talk about your dad. In fact, I didn't even intend to get both of you on the same day. I was going to have you on last Friday, but I didn't set it up. So it just so happened that it fell today. I looked at the schedule and figured that out. But talking about your dad, something no one's probably ever asked you, or at least I haven't. I've never heard you talk about it. How hard is it for you to watch people say that he went to a Navy SEAL club and said he's glad Navy SEALs are dying when you know your dad? I mean, I know he would never talk like that, and says the opposite on my show when they lie and say he got pulled over trying to fly out of an airport when he didn't do that. To see the disinformation campaign and to see things like that and to see the system using the ignorance of the population against people. I mean, I know you don't want to talk about the case, but, I mean, how has it affected you and your family to see the national news spread all those lies about your family?
Well, anytime anytime you live through, your father being a governor and all the things that are, said in the heat of politics and the smear campaigns and things like that, you develop a pretty thick skin. And, it doesn't affect us as a family personally. I mean, do you like seeing people spread lies and disinformation about your family? No, of course not. But we believe in what we're doing, and who cares what they say?
Exactly. Well, that's my view on it. I'm just so sick of it happening in my own life, because when you look at the piles of crap that are doing it, excuse that term, but that's what it is, it's just, you can't believe there are people this dishonorable who think it's cute and funny when they manipulate people.
It's just the standard tactics that are done in any kind of, political environment. You have to tear down the enemy, or you have to, insult people if you don't agree with them. It's kind of what we've devolved into in our political discourse these days, whether it be, the incident, involving, people saying that my dad said horrible things about the Navy SEALs, which we all know he would never do. Or making up that he's getting speeding tickets, or when he was governor and the disinformation and lies were put out then. It's just it's what we kind of devolve into as a society. It's a TMZ culture, and that's kind of what they prey upon, is that people would rather gossip than actually have real discussions about real issues.
Exactly, and it's a way for little people, especially who see themselves as little, they're not really little people, to make themselves better than somebody, is to just claim they're bad so they can feel good. And It's something the manipulators are fully aware of. I want to get into tonight's episode. I know in the promo last week, they were saying it's the death ray tonight, but on the site, last time I checked, it's not saying what's airing tonight. Tyrel, do you know what's airing tonight on TruTV?
No, it is death ray, yeah, for sure. As far as I know, unless they changed it last second, but I doubt that. No, it is the death ray episode, which is essentially an episode of investigation we went into on directed energy weaponry. Nikola Tesla and things like that, and what, kind of he was playing with towards the end of his career. and what became of that energy, what became of that technology and free energy and all of those things that, it's powerful. It's really powerful. This episode definitely shook us to the core, as you'll see tonight. There was some things that happened during this episode that was pretty extraordinary, even if they're just coincidence. And it's probably one of the most powerful episodes I think that we've done.
And of course, you're talking about a death that happened.
Yeah. Could be coincidence, might not be. I don't know. There's nothing that says that it was anything more than it was.
But he died right after you interviewed him.
Correct. Yeah. And like I said, there's no facts that says there's anything more than just he passed away. But it's still always a very kind of like, oof.
And of course, we're not supposed to talk about what happened last season either. There's been some other, I tell you, none of this is coincidence. It's very creepy.
It's always interesting, when you're working and living in this world, you always kind of, you read the news a different way, you react to things a different way because you never know, and you don't want to be paranoid. You don't want to go around your whole life paranoid and thinking every little thing is somebody out to get you or is a conspiracy. But at the same time, you have to take a second guess and you have to read between the lines just to make sure that you're not that you are getting the full facts. But this episode's extraordinary. I really highly recommend people tune in and watch.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this is the most powerful, and I'll be honest. I said the things I said about David Icke in the last episode, playing devil's advocate of things I'd said in the past, but saying I think overall it's good that he's getting people talking and opening up their horizons. I mean, I guess you could say I was a critic 14, 15 years ago as they kind of intro me like that, but it was an entertaining episode, but kind of a bummer because I like, both people that are involved with the show. And I know you guys literally did start that David Icke investigation, with an open mind, open heart. I'm sad that it kind of went in that direction, but this Death Ray episode is off the chart from what I know about it.
Yeah, no, it's an extraordinary episode. And again, it's going to be controversial. Like I said, a lot of the episodes we did this year might be a little controversial within the world of people that research and follow conspiracies and dig into that world. And I know obviously Reptilians was last week. It was very divisive amongst the community because you have a lot of people that believe what David Icke says and you have a lot of people that don't. And then you had a lot of people, saying, how dare Jesse even look into something like that? But I feel very strongly that you have to look into everything. You can't ignore something even if it feels, out there or fantastical, because there may be some really legitimate, great research being done within the context of that. I mean, do I think that there's shape-shifting reptiles running the world? No. But does that reject the good research that people are doing, even if they go to that conclusion? Like Tracy Twyman's research into the bloodlines of our leaders and things like that. That's legitimate, good, great research.
Well, here's my deal. David Icke, people can disagree with some of the things he says. The guy really is genuine in that he believes his research is accurate. Yeah. And look, he said that that Savelle guy was a guy bringing kids to the royal family, and now it's coming out that it's basically true. I mean, I tell you, I wish David Icke was wrong. Because, I mean...
at the same time, though, David brings it to this very otherworldly area, which that's what Jesse, I think, had such a major problem with it, is that you can do great research, but if you bring it to this strange conclusion that is really impossible to prove one way or the other, No,
I understand. I mean, that's what I said, is that if something's off-world, well, then how do you deal with it? But the way the globalists have already broken off another breakaway civilization under national security with all this high-tech stuff built with our ingenuity and our money, they might as well be aliens. I mean, the globalists are psychopaths. I see a psychopath as alien to the human race.
No, I agree. Yeah. I mean, are they disconnected from the human race in the sense of, do they live, kind of above the law? Yeah. Do they live by their own rules? Yeah. Do they care about the rest of us? No. So I think that's really where, you could make that leap, like you're saying. You could make that kind of jump, like you're saying. But it was a great episode. I mean, it's controversial. It was definitely an interesting thing to look into. I saw the stuff I did, and it made me aware of that world. And it's like I always say, it's 300 years ago we thought the world was flat. In another 300 years we may all be looking at each other and say, "Wow, Icke was right all along." You never know what you'll discover. And
Sure.
So you always have to leave your mind open at least a little bit to, hey, you know what? We don't know everything about how this universe works and about how this world works. But at the same time, you have to be there to say, to put the foot down and say, okay, here and now, that doesn't make sense. But,
sure.
It could in 30, 40 years. You never know what we're going to discover tomorrow or the next day.
Tyrel, more tidbits that you can tell us about the episode coming up tonight and why people should tune in. Well,
I know that tonight's episode was really controversial and actually kind of started when Jesse was on your show, a year ago or 2 years ago. I don't exactly remember the right timeline, when he started looking into directed energy weapons and then looking into Dr. Judy Woods' work. And I know that really upset a lot of the 9/11 truthers out there, and suddenly they started attacking Jesse and saying he was a sellout and all these things. And my dad has always had the attitude of like, look, I'm going to just do research. I'm going to research these things without a bias until I feel that either they're true or not. And he never likes to be labeled as part of a group. And, one of the things that really upset him is everyone attacking him for looking at Judy Woods' work, when he's saying, well, wait a minute, we don't know that it was thermite. We don't know that it was directed energy. But either way, we have to look at all the possible scenarios.
Sure. Well, let me explain something to you on that, because I think people fighting on the internet, that's just part and parcel of it. This is much ado about nothing from my perspective. We were talking last week, and you're like, yeah, I know this is a controversial episode with Judy Wood and all. And I am not saying there aren't directed energy weapons. I'm not saying they didn't have all sorts of stuff to demolish those towers. We've got them on tape saying, get back, we're going to bring down 7, and then 7 blows up, classic demolition style. Yeah. My issue was, if you want to understand this, and not the professor, I've never talked to her, out of the gates like 5, 6 years ago, this was about 6 years ago, I get phone calls from other people going, prominent people, you traitor, you better expose it with space beams. Yeah. And you better go with this information. And then it was like a way to wedge the movement, and the media would go with the space beam angle to like try to discredit 9/11 truth. So I just said, look, I don't know about this, but some of these other professors, some of these other street people in New York and others, I would go to New York and they'd run up and go, CIA pig, the guy had a foreign accent, get out of here, we know you'll cover up the space beam. And so my whole deal was, I was bum rushed and told, you better adopt space beam. So I just went, whoa. It was kind of like 6, 7 years ago. This guy sent me an email and said, he said, you will cover the Vatican or I will expose you for working with them. And I sent him an email saying, well, go where the sun don't shine, buddy. So, it's like, people that want to get on your show, they're like, I'll expose you if you don't have me on. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And it's Jesse came upon that information. He came upon Woods' work, on his own. It wasn't told to look into it or anything like that. He just, someone had said, hey, have you checked this out? And so he read her book and said, wow, this is a pretty interesting, plausible theory in Jesse's mind as he read her book. And I know I had a big problem with it because I for a long, I firmly believed in the thermite, definition and the good research that's been done that way. Today, as I sit, even after, like I said, you got to watch the show tonight because it's really compelling stuff. Today, I sit kind of at a crossroads because I say, both sides, both alternative theories have some weight.
The point is the official story isn't true, and that's another thing.
The official story isn't true. Yeah, exactly.
But not Woods, but some of the others savagely attacked Dr. Stephen Jones and others when there's evidence of conventional explosions as well, especially Building 7. And see, that's what I mean. It was like a takeover, very aggressive. And so when people heard Ventura say, hey, I'm looking into that side, because of the aggressiveness of that movement, that's why people turned against it.
I got you. Yeah, no, and that's one of the things I think that's so important, especially in looking at people's reactions to these last 2 episodes, and I think their reactions to tonight's episode, is you have to do the research. You have to look into every possible thing before you can discredit something or before you can credit something. And that's what we're trying to do this season, is saying, you know what, on some of these bigger issues, let's look at, like, we've done 2 seasons with 9/11, and we last season we spent doing 9/11 looking at thermite and looking at the Pentagon. Here's another option. And it happened to fall into something we were already wanting to get into, which was Nikola Tesla and the work that he's done and potentially what happened to his work. And so it was kind of an interesting, road that we went down and said, oh, wow, this kind of ties into what Judy Woods was talking about. And then when you see the experiments actually work, it really is, it's very kind of chilling. You're kind of like, ooh, that there might be some reality to that. But it's very important for us all when we're doing, when we're investigating these things, is to not fight with each other, to say, okay, well, what information do you have? Okay, that's interesting. I have this information over here. And instead of being at each other's throats, we should all be working together.
No, I agree. People get very, very territorial. But again, minus that person you're talking about, the rest of that crowd, it was very vicious that you will cover this or your disinformation. So yeah. I think then Jesse got in on the tail end of that, kind of the boomerang of people then not liking anybody that was pushing the
right.
particle beam or directed energy weapon theorem. When we come back, Ty, I want to get your take on the election, where you see America going, the financial meltdown. Then I'm giving the number out, folks, and we'll take your calls and a lot more. All this straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones.
While we fight to retain our liberty, while we fight to expose globalism, we have to realize we're talking about a very powerful combination of power.
Renowned author and expert Joel Skousen breaks down the globalist plan to shut down America and stage a new world war.
In one day, America will go from day to night. And if you haven't prepared in advance, there's not enough time to prepare in 24 hours, even if you saw it that early.
Coming to the Info War in November is our new documentary film presentation.
Strategic relocation is a systematic way to think strategically in the future about how do I safeguard.
Joel Skousen, Strategic Relocation.
The freeways are going to be crowded, they're going to run out of gasoline, they're going to run out of food, and then they're going to start to go north and south of those freeways.
Joel Skousen is renowned as one of the world's foremost experts in strategic relocation and the securing of your home.
We talk about natural disasters, the health environment, we talk about pollution, the water quality. My personal experience about being in every one of these states.
Government is digging in for the organized, incremental collapse of society and world war.
The U.S. isn't building huge underground bases and bunkers because of some terrorist threat. They know that a massive nuclear attack is coming. They want that attack to come. Most people won't even be ready and won't be able to get out of town when any of these nuclear weapons fall, because there'll be absolute panic.
There is no preparedness without strategy.
What I tell people is that you do have time. Prepare wisely in advance.
This Christmas, give the gift of preparedness. Strategic Relocation, the film, with Joel Skousen and Alex Jones. Okay, going back to Tyrel Ventura. In closing, big episode tonight. Look forward to watching it with my wife after the kids go to bed. 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, TruTV. What's your take on the state of the country, where this world's going, the drones, the secret arrest, the Petraeus situation, all of it, Tyrel?
Well, I mean, I think we're in the same fight that we've always been in. I mean, everybody asks me, who do you like better, Obama or Romney? And I always kind of looked at it like, okay, I can vote for Gordon Gekko, I can vote for Bush the Third. There's really no difference. You're going to get the same, mess either way. This drone war going on in Pakistan, it needs to be brought to light. I mean, that's really disgusting what's going on there, as well as the NSA in terms of like what they're building in Bluffdale, Colorado as well. And the whistleblowing that like William Binney, I believe his name is done is pretty extraordinary in that. But we just got to keep vigilant and keep holding our feet, holding their feet to the fire. They've shredded our basic rights, and it's a concern. If Obama is the man that he says he is, well, now he doesn't have to worry about re-election. Now he can do the things that he promised initially he would do and be this hope and change and peace president. Well, now you don't have to worry about running again and winning one part of the vote. So let's see it. Let's see you make good on your promises. I don't think that'll happen, but who knows?
No, they're going to drop the hammer big time. listen, it's amazing to see the FEMA camp special killed. Now they're not even going to air the TSA special. Tell us what was in that that people aren't going to get to see now.
It was an interesting episode. I mean, I ended up confronting Michael Chertoff in the episode, which was a pretty amazing moment, and I got him to tentatively admit that what they do at the airport is security theater. That it's not actually really designed to, stop terrorism. The argument back is, well, it's more there just to kind of, show that we're in control and show that the terrorists can't get through, but it really doesn't, it's not really going to solve anything. I wish that stuff could have seen the light of day, because it was a pretty powerful, amazing episode. You know what?
I always save the best to last. Do 5 more minutes with us, then we'll go to calls. 1 minute break, Ty. I want to just give you 5 minutes of this next short segment to break down, because this is news making here, that they did a hardcore, serious episode with scientists on the cancer, on the body scanners, the cancer clusters, the money, confronted Chertoff. That takes big huevos, rancheros.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
All right, Tyrel Ventura, who just kicked hind end when it came to the 3rd season of Conspiracy Theory, is one of the investigative reporters. And now they're not going to air the 8th episode, the finale, the TSA, that when they do groundbreaking, totally proven stuff, persona non grata, it's not getting on air. It goes into a black hole. So, Ty, in 4 minutes we got left in this segment, tell people about Chertoff, where you confronted him, what happened. This is newsmaking.
Well, what happened with Chertoff, and I'll give Chertoff a lot of credit. He stood his ground. He answered the questions. He didn't shy away. He didn't, do the usual, like, oh, I'm going to run away from the interview or anything like that. He has his convictions and his beliefs, and I think that he truly believes in what he's talking about. He might be a true believer in that.
Yeah, the bank account that's getting bigger, yeah.
Exactly that, too. But no, he was speaking up in San Francisco, and we got up there with the cameras, and he sat and talked with me for about a good, I'd say about a good 10 minutes about the TSA and about the security measures that we're taking. And it was a very good interview. And, within the context of that interview, he fired back with his beliefs. I said, look, what about, the fact that really it is just security theater. And he, all but admitted that, like, yes, in a way it is. We're presenting security in his mind, which was, I believe what he was trying to frame it as is that, the level of security, is it going to stop every terrorist? No, they can find holes in it, but really it's the appearance of it is what scares people away. But really, I think what he was saying essentially, or what I took from that was that really at the end of the day, it is just security theater. It's not really designed to be used to thwart terrorism.
It's designed to condition us to accept being slaves, and the government got the underwear bomber on the stinking plane.
Because it's like I said to him, it's like, well, what okay, well, you have all these people in these huge lines, and you congregate us all together. There's 200 people waiting to go through these security lines. What prevents a terrorist from just walking into the line and setting a bomb off and killing just as many people as he would on the airplane? And his answer back to me was, well, that's up to the airports to figure out logistically and how to solve that.
All right, let's pass the buck. Let's expand. What other areas are covered? I know about the cancer and the scanners.
Yeah, we went into the cancer, we went into the scanners and how there's been cancer clusters and with TSA agents in Boston, things like that they're trying to prove. I believe there may even be a court case about that. Bear with me, this is about a year ago now that we did that. But
no, they've proven it. It's just that, now they're trying to prove that it's the scanners that made it have the 7-fold increase.
Correct. And there's very real good research that says that more than likely is the possibility of it.
How does it feel to do all that work? I mean, that would have been a big nationwide interview. That would have made newspapers everywhere. Well, that would have been good work to warn people, and then to have it shoved into a black hole.
Well, I'll put it to you like this, Alex. Was there production reasons that weren't that had nothing to do with censorship involved? Yes. Do I think that Time Warner and TruTV are a little hesitant given what happened with the police state episode? That probably played into it as well. I think that one of the things we learned in doing these shows is that when you talk about a conspiracy that's already happened, they're not as concerned. when you talk about conspiracies that could happen or are on the docket or are going to happen, that's when suddenly everyone gets really nervous.
Yeah, when you talk about the bank being robbed right now, that's what the bank robbers care about. They don't care if you talk about a bank robbery that happened 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Very well said. No, that's it. The FEMA camp takeover.
I've noticed that trend with a lot of our shows that the shows that take place, that we're dealing with something that happened in the past, not as big deal. Still controversial, not as big deal. When you deal with stuff that has yet to happen, that's suddenly when, it's harder to get the interviews, or you got to fight a little bit more to get things on the air and things like that. One of the things I'm hoping for is, and this is up to the fans, let TruTV know you want these shows on DVD.